Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to a new coloring adventure with CLAldridgeArt. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Christine Aldridge. I am an author of adult coloring books, and this is one of them, Fabulous Flowers. I do believe that this is was my 8th book. There are now 10, and the 11th is on its way. I am doing a voiceover on this video today. It is a continuation of a page that we started on my Sunday stream, this one. And if you were here on Sunday, you know that I had a little bit of trouble with this page. It has been based in CalArt markers, and I am coloring it with Prismacolors. Okay, so right here I am showing you a new drawing that I was working on, and I say was because in just a second you'll see the finished drawing, and it is now in my Etsy shop. It is for sale, and my Etsy shop link is down below in the description. And I think what I'm describing to you here is that I usually do when I do a frame drawing like this, where I put something inside, I shoot a version that's just the empty frame, and then I add the rest of the drawing inside. If you do like what you see here on my channel, please do like and subscribe to this video and ring the bell for notifications so that you never miss another video. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I do have a fan coloring group on Facebook, and of course I do maintain contact with fans on Instagram. So if you like my work and would like to make contact, those are the best ways to do it. Beside, of course, leaving a comment here on my YouTube channel, which is always important. Now, on Sunday, one of the things that happened is that as I was coloring that particular blue flower, I made it sort of curl up like it was made of curled metal, and I took it a little bit too far. So I'm telling you that I took an eraser to it, and I erased a lot of the color off the outside edges of the leaves and just left that darker on the inside. And I'm sort of using a different process on this orange one. One of the colors that I did bring in, which you didn't see on Sunday, is the 90, or I believe it's the 90% French gray. And that is what's giving the depth of color underneath on that orange flower, where I'm trying to pop the smaller flower up sort of off the page in a similar way that I did to the blue one. Now, like a lot of coloring or a lot of art channels, I am going to talk a little bit today about COPPA, which is the Child Online Privacy Prevention Act, the settlement with YouTube and how it's affecting all of us as creators. The reason why I'm voicing over this particular video is that I had actually talked about this issue throughout all of this section here, or I'd said I was going to talk about it, but there's just about to be a transition where I'm going to go away and come back, and then I'll tell you something else. So, but I have since learned more, and so I have a much more in-depth conversation to have as we're doing this. Now, you might wonder why I'm talking to all of you users out there, or the users of YouTube, fans of my channel. it is because there is a lot that you all can do to help protect your creators, but also just because I want you to know why there is such widespread concern about this in the community and different concerns that we're having. Now, one of the things that I'm about to tell you is that on Sunday, you noticed that I had my colored pencils were all in the box in color family order. I had done them numeric. Now, Prismacolors, when you get them, come in the box in one order, which is all the colors are grouped together. I wanted to see what happened if I actually swatched them numerically. And so that's what I did in my swatch book in this section. And I had them in my box that way, but it proved to be, excuse me, it proved to be highly inefficient when it came to actually coloring. It was fine for if I wanted to select a color palette out of a particular tray, but if I wanted to color a blue flower with various shades of blue, it became problematic for me to have my pencils in numeric order. And I'm showing you an example of what the tray method, which is what I'd had them in, looks like. I pulled pencils out of only one tray to do this work in progress. And so you can see the colors were all complementary. They all worked really well together, and they all came out of one little section of the Prismacolor trays. But once again, it did prove problematic when I went to color an orange flower, and my oranges were literally spread across all 8 boxes that are in the Prismacolor set. So that is really what that is about. And we are going to make that 6 boxes that are in the Prismacolor set. I just sat and listened to the replay on that. That's pretty funny. One other minor correction is that the frames, when I make a frame and then I put something else in it, what I meant is that I make a copy of the frame for my frames book, and then I proceed to draw the rest of the image in. So anyway, so now I am finally about to get started on coloring this particular page and bringing you back in. I am telling you the colors that I am using. I will tell you that they are the 90% French gray, the process red, the orange, or actually that's the pale vermilion, and the sunburst yellow, I believe. Or no, that's the yellowed yellow. Yellowed orange. I apologize. And I'm probably telling you the Prismacolor numbers there, but I've given you the names of the colors. I'll eventually pull the orange out as well. Most of these things are at least 5 colors to get them the way that I want them. But, so I'm just sort of settling in here. I think it's funny to watch a replay when you've talked all the way through the first version, and now I'm trying to figure out what it was that I was actually talking about. I think I was probably talking about the success of, and my huge thanks to all of you for making my Save the Car Etsy 50% off sale a reality. Now, for those of you who are scratching your heads and going, what the heck is she talking about? The Virginia Beach City Inspector, I live in Virginia Beach, came by and dropped a notice of violation at my door because my car was in the driveway, but it was unregistered. Now, this particular violation is called an inoperable vehicle violation, and right here is the inoperable vehicle in question. Now, this picture was taken when this car was brand new, so it was some 8 years ago or 9 years ago. It's 10 years old now, and he does this regularly. If as a starving artist, if I can't pay my insurance that premium, I have no choice but to stop driving the car, and so I leave it sit in the driveway. Well, the tags ran out on it, and before I could get it reinsured, and so it always leaves me in a world of hurt, which is why I had a 50% off sale, so that I could raise the money to buy the insurance, and I did, and everything was fine on Tuesday when I got a brand new insurance policy from my carrier back on it, and everything was good. And because it had expired less than 90 days ago, it supposedly qualified to be renewed online. But when I attempted to renew the tags so that I could legally drive it to get the inspection, it needs a state emissions and safety inspection sticker on it. I found out that because the insurance had lapsed under a new law that just went into effect in Virginia, I am liable and on the hook for a $600 non-compliance fee over and above a $45 license reinstatement fee. So basically my driver's license got suspended because I let the insurance lapse on my car. Now, of course, to me, the first question that comes to mind is, well, what about people who drive but don't own a car of their own? So let's say they drive a company car, or or they're they're a caregiver, and so they drive the owner's car. I mean, theoretically, the car is insured for anybody driving it, but if you don't own a car, you're not allowed to have a driver's license, and that made little sense to me. Fortunately, there is a appeal mechanism, so I have made an appeal to the state of the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of these rules are allowed because Virginia is a commonwealth, it is not a state. And so I'm waiting to hear back on that. In the meantime, I, needless to say, was not able to get the car re-registered in time for the inspector. Fortunately, he is a reasonable man. I was able to reach him by phone the night before the re-inspection, and he agreed to give me an extra week, so I'll know by the end of business, I think today, today is Friday the 22nd, whether or not they've accepted my request for an appeal. I made the request on Tuesday, so supposedly it only takes 3 days to get an answer back. We shall find out. In the meantime, of course, I'm still on tenterhooks because if they slap a tow away sticker on it, then theoretically any tow truck that drives by, not that we have an abundance of them in the neighborhood, but could just come along and tow it. And I would rather not have my cute little ragtop sports car in an impound lot anywhere. So we're still working on figuring that out. But it's insured. That's the good news. It's insured. I always have to laugh at sometimes what seems like the arbitrariness of some regulations. But speaking of regulations, oh boy, there is widespread panic in the art community, the YouTube art community, whether it be arts and crafts, whether it be diamond painting, whether it be your artists like me, anybody that colors, that has a color and chat channel, anything like that. And I cannot honestly say that concern, that the anxiety, that the sort of widespread panic is misplaced. I would like for people to have a better picture. Unfortunately, it hasn't been painted for us. But whenever I'm dealing with an issue or a problem that is like this, the first thing I want to do is educate myself as to what, where, why, how, and what can we do. So the first place that I started to look, excuse me, we've gone all moist and cold and all of that, and it's not quite cold enough to suppress mold altogether. I have a mold allergy. It rained last week, so my breathing is a little affected this week. So I apologize for being a little coffee. At any rate, so the first thing that I did is, of course, I watched the YouTube video that YouTube put out about how we, as channel owners, need to mark videos either, and it's got nothing to do with child friendly. We have to mark it as either directed to kids or not directed to kids. Now, the real problem, I think, comes in the fact that the FTC never gave YouTube a very good definition of what directed to kids actually means. And the language in the actual COPPA regulation says directed to kids, or that kids would find appealing. And that word appealing is the word that is just got everybody in a blind panic. Because there are a lot of things that are appealing to kids. Is adult coloring appealing to kids? I don't think so. I've never had a kid in my streams or anybody showing interest to my knowledge in buying my books for their kids. But there are a lot of channels out there that do color out of what could be considered kid coloring books, or that do the cartoons, that do the Chibi Girl, the Disney books, the various storybooks or fantasy books, things like that, fairies, whatever, that on a individual basis, the book itself could be considered appealing to kids. The videos are not. They're showing adults coloring with expensive coloring supplies in a way that children under the age of 13 are just simply not capable of. Or if they are the exception rather than the rule, and are far less likely to be watching us than they are a gaming channel or something along those lines. But leaving all of that particular stuff aside for just a second, COPPA isn't new. It came into being in 1998. And of course, back then, what it was designed to do was to keep kids from giving away their name and location and all of that as a requirement of signing up for anything without the express written consent of their parents. which is one of the reasons why in the YouTube or the Google account agreement, it says that you have to be at least 13 years old in order to have a Google account or to sign up for YouTube. And so YouTube, under that guideline, you'd think, well, maybe there wouldn't be any content for kids. But we all know that there is content for kids on YouTube. So YouTube created a mechanism for parents called YouTube Kids, so that they could get their kids a YouTube account, but YouTube would know not to collect personal data personal data or the watch habits. See, the Children's Online Privacy Prevention Act, or privacy, whatever the heck I said, whatever was written on that paper, and now I don't have my notes right in front of me. Privacy Protection Act, that's it. Not prevention, privacy protection. So that's what it was designed for. Now in 2013, it was amended to include cookies. Now we all know that cookies are the things that live in our devices that kind of keep track of our system or our device IP address, and they use those cookies to be able to find out what you're watching, so they know what to direct, what things to put in your recommendeds list, in your what kind of advertising could be directed at you. We all think that advertising, that it's the advertiser that selects a particular video, or a team that works for YouTube that selects a particular video to put a particular ad on. But those ads are actually personalized. So you and I could be watching the same channel and be watching different ads based upon what it is that we use YouTube to watch. So for instance, I watch a lot of videos on how to make videos. I watch a lot of video editing videos. I watch a lot of website making videos. I watch a lot of technical science videos, that kind of thing. So the advertising that I see is directed at me. Those are the ads that I'm seeing. I'm, getting tons of Divi ads, which are a front-end website maker. I'm getting tons of. I liked at one point in time. I really liked that Drops ad with the naked guy in the bathtub, so I watched that a lot. Now, in addition to that, of course, Google has or YouTube and Google have mechanisms that actually listen to us, and optic recognition software that looks at the things that we write. So it is those things that look at our descriptions, that look at the comments, that actually read chat, that type out the things that we say on our channels for closed captioning, all of those types of things. Now, a perfect example of how scary that is in my Sunday stream. Somebody used the words narcissistic personality in a comment that they made. It was a generalized comment. It wasn't about anybody in particular. It had to do with bullying, and the fact that bullying has gotten sort of rampant online. And I said out loud, as I was reading the comment back, I said the word out loud. With that, my stream ended at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. By 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in my recommended playlist of things that YouTube thought that I might like, was a particular psychologist, a PhD, that has a channel that is specifically dedicated to learning about narcissistic personality disorder. And I was like, what? And I even watched a few of those videos, and yeah, there's some people in the community that you'd recognize big time. But that being neither here nor there, I did think it was particularly interesting that it was that quick. 3 hours later, it was just that quick. So now imagine that. Uh, a kid is watching anything, and and that type of data is being collected on them. So the reason why YouTube thought that it was in the clear on this, of course, is because you're supposed to have to be 13 to have a YouTube account, and they leaned on that for a long time. But when they allowed content directed to children, um, and they had to have known. I mean, yes, there are millions and millions of videos uploaded to YouTube every single day. But there are also a lot of big channels that are geared and aimed at kids. And YouTube was doing nothing to curtail the collection of data on what people were watching on those accounts. Anybody who visited those websites, if they weren't recognized as a YouTube Kids account, their data was being collected, and that, I think, is one of the catalysts that caused the FTC to sue YouTube. Now, they did sue them. They took them to court, and then they fined them. And so YouTube, as part of that settlement, had to develop a mechanism to identify what channels and what videos would be appealing to children, so that they would have an idea of who not to collect data from. And because adults keep handing their devices to their kids, and instead of insisting that the kid use their own device, and then their watch ability is curtailed to what the parents say it is, so many people hand their devices to their children, and let their children then watch the same channels that they watch. So, do I have any objection if a parent and a child want to watch my videos together? I personally have no objection if a kid wants to watch my video, but I do not make videos directed to kids. That is not, I don't curse in my videos. I do talk about adult themes. I think it would just bore the heck out of a kid. But no, I would not have the objection if they wanted to do that, but I still don't cater to children. I am an adult coloring channel, and adult coloring is a genuine hobby. So but is there a possibility that, that because we use bright colors, and because we use not so much in my case, but a lot of other channels, because of the content of what they're coloring, the coloring books that they're using, that type of thing. Could they be in trouble, or could they be in danger of being assumed to be a kid appealing channel? I don't have the answer to that. Only the you sort of realize now what kind of a rock and a hard place that YouTube has found themselves in, because they don't know either, unless we tell them. And if we do tell them, then we need to be able to cut. They need to be able to cut off all kinds of data comment, or data collecting, so they can no longer read the comments. If you're a child directed channel, they're no longer going to be able to read the comments, so they're just going to take them away, because they're not equipped to know which comments to read and which ones not to read, and and what, because it's not, I don't think it's suitable to have kids in a live stream anyway. So, that is, at least, that's just me. So that's sort of, I guess I feel for YouTube and the frustration level that they have, as well as, of course, for all of us. So that is why I wanted to educate myself into what happened to cause this. Why did it happen? And then I started watching some of the lawyers who are actually talking. Now, one of them is J something Law, who is excellent. He's the guy that is no longer a practicing attorney. He's actually got a full-time YouTube channel, but I also started listening to Hogue Law, which is a guy out of Michigan, and he does not give legal advice, but he does discuss enforcement, and just he basically is very good at delivering information. He doesn't tell you how to interpret the information, but he tells you information and the various ways that information could be looked at, not should be looked at, but could be looked at. And I found, after watching a few of those, that my own personal anxiety level started to level out a little bit. Now, there does seem to be this huge panic going on that, if you get marked as a child channel, or one of your videos get flagged, that there's going to be this, immediate $42,000 bill show up in your, in your mailbox, or that your channel will then be shut down, or that if you are, a directed at children channel, that you will no longer be monetized. None of those things are true. The advertising would then be contextual. So the advertising on your channel would be in context with a child directed channel. So in much the same way that television, if they are running ads on a cartoon program on a Saturday morning, not that there are any cartoons left, I think, on Saturday morning, but you're going to get toy ads and things that are appealing to children. And I apologize that I'm not talking about the coloring. I hope that if you're interested in the coloring, you saw what I did there. But anyway, Now I've lost my train of thought. Hang on, let me pause the video and then pause the sound, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back. Now, did you know that apparently there is a button? Now, this is for channels that are monetized. Apparently, on your in your channel settings, there is, once you're monetized, there is a button that you can press that says that you are opting out of the personalized ads collecting, and at that point in time, now it does come with the caveat that that it could mean that your channel makes a lot less money. But if you click it, theoretically, you would be at least some lawyers' opinions are that if you click that button, that you may be safe under the, or compliant with the COPPA or COPPA guidelines. I don't know if that's true or not, but apparently it's certainly an option. Now, of course, for so many of us, the biggest loss would be notifications, would be the loss of comments, yeah, if we were to get flagged, or on the videos. Let's say that I colored a Disney out of a Disney coloring book, and in order to protect myself, I went ahead and marked that as a made for kids video. The things that would be gone immediately from that particular video are any ability to comment on it, save it to a playlist, save it to watch it later. There would be no comments. Of course, you couldn't do it in a live stream. I don't believe that you can do it in a live stream. And so yeah, any community tab, anything at all, but that would only be to that particular video. All right, so now I know that there is also a huge worry, and I'm not saying don't worry about these things, guys, but what I am saying is let's apply just a touch of hope that that the people at YouTube will not be totally obtuse about about what they're doing. All right. So let's say that you have a video and it's flagged. That is the first step. They'll flag the video, or they may mark it as a made for child video, and you disagree. There is an appeal mechanism for that, and apparently if you get a flag like that, there is a send feedback button where you can obviously you would watch your video and figure out what it is they may have flagged it for, and then you could maybe take it down and edit it, but you could actually appeal that with the send feedback button. How effective it is, nobody's going to know, but there is a mechanism to appeal a decision that maybe they made, maybe they caught up all the coloring in a sweep or whatever. Whether or not the appeal would be successful, I don't know. But I do know this. This I do know. If you were to get flagged by the FTC, they would have to take you to court. And while you might lose in court, they would still have to take you to court. So there's not going to be, an automatic $42,000 bill show up in your mailbox. That's what I think I'm trying to say. They would have to take you to court, they'd have to sue you, and they'd have to win. Now, apparently, and excuse me about that, apparently, I mean, let's just take for 1 second the idea that a bureaucracy the size of the FTC is going to take on little old you that, that has a little coloring channel with, 5,000 subscribers. They would end up spending all the federal treasury on the cost of suing people, which is why most of these cases end up settling. And usually there is, in any kind of violation of something, there is a period, any kind of regulation, there is a period where you can actually take corrective measures. Whether or not that will actually happen, I honestly do not know. Whether or not the FTC will have the power to just sweep in and take your channel away from you, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, and it's never been tested. When I used to do real estate, there were a lot of real estate agents and or attorneys or escrow officers in the case of escrow states, where we would always err on the side of caution because whatever it was, that was coming up, whatever issue it was, had not been legally tested. This one has not been legally tested, and we're not going to know what will happen until we have somebody who has violated or who has been accused of violating COPPA as a content provider or a content maker, and successfully goes through the court system and doesn't settle. Until then, there's not going to be any settled law on it, and none of us is going to know. Because everybody to date has simply settled. Any COPPA lawsuits have been settled, including YouTube. They settled for this, and part of the settlement agreement was that they provide this mechanism for finding out what channels and videos are considered made for children. So, if you have unlimited funds and want to test it, go for it. Otherwise, the rest of us are still just sort of left guessing. And, we have to do the best we can. But obviously, if we just apply a little bit of calm thought to it, they would need to actually sue you. And the idea that they're going to sue Joe Small is a lot less logical than if they take on a few of the big gaming channels. Now, I'm not a gamer, so I don't really know how those channels work. I don't know if you have to sign up or something, or if there is some kind of a cookie that they give you to save your progress in a game. I don't know how the gaming channels work. Maybe some of you guys do, and leave the comments if you know how it works. But my only concern is to address the panic as it applies to us in the coloring community, and I think that we do need to take solid steps. We do need to make sure that we are titling our videos well. We do need to watch the things that we color. excuse me, if we have children that color with us, we may want to rethink that. You know, we have a lot of stuff to think about, and but I'll tell you what, it broke my heart. It broke my heart listening to Anne at A Colorful Life talk about how this has just dealt her a blow to her anxiety, and that in order for her to be able to just be okay with it, she has deleted all of her videos. All of them. This is what the FTC has done with this vague language. Somebody with the best heart in the world, who wouldn't hurt a fly, who wouldn't gather information on anybody. Content makers don't gather information on people. And her anxiety behind this was such that she has deleted her entire library of videos and started over again. It just breaks my heart. I listened to Michelle, at Chat, Colorful Chat and Cats, who is so upset about this. She's angry, and it's the unknown. It is absolutely the unknown. So that is what's going on. That is why everybody is talking about it. Now, I would say this. Stop watching the channels that are preaching gloom and doom, and start watching the channels that tell you what you can do constructively. Sign the petition. If you are a user of YouTube and you want to keep your arts channels, sign the petition that you see, which all it asks is that the FTC clarify the language of this ruling, of the definition of what it would considers directed to children, or appealing to children. If the coloring community, if the arts community, if the diamond painting community, if that is a community that helps you with your adult stress, with your dealing with your pain, if you just like to do it because it's a wonderful hobby to have with a lot of people, make your comments, address comments to the FTC. There's forms. I'll add them in this video. There's access to be able to put a polite and thoughtful comment. And there's talking points, and I'll include those as well, that you can look at. And, and it talks about, what does YouTube mean to you, and the community that it serves. Because without content providers, there is no YouTube. And it's the content providers that have the voice. And my understanding is that the FTC is open to hearing comments on this particular issue. And especially well-worded and polite comments that are constructive, not critical. This is an old law. It's not a new thing. They didn't just spring it on us. It's been on the books for originally since 1998. So what is that, 20 years? It was amended to include the cookies thing in 2013. And it's really directed at content, or not content, but at service providers. But the theory is that, that YouTube's service is providing a viewing place for videos. We are the content providers. And they're, even though we're not collecting the information, it's not being collected for our benefit. My understanding is that because we do earn money off of these ads, this is why they're looking at the content providers. Whether or not that's true, I honestly don't know. But from a logical standpoint, it sort of made sense to me. Whether or not a judge would ever see it that way, I don't know. There are some attorneys who say yay, some that say nay. I don't know. I honestly don't. So we can do the best that we can, but please, everybody, just don't panic. And if you gotta panic and you feel like you need to if you don't know what's in your videos, you've got so many of them now that you don't want to go back and find out. Anne found a solution for her anxiety level on it. I would hope that that is not, that doesn't, that's not what everybody chooses. But, I understand and completely sympathize. And, in the end, you got to do what's right for you. But it just broke my heart. It really did. Because I know how much it means to her. I know how much those videos meant to her. So, anyway. So I'm coloring leaves here. And I'm using peacock blue. No, I'm not. I'm using peacock green, grass green, and spring green. I think spring green is the color that I was using. And so what I'm doing is I'm just darkening in the little corners or the under leaves where they would be shadowed with the peacock green. And then I'll go in on top of it with a little grass green. And then, I know, not spring green, sap green, light sap green is the final color that I'll use. And then that, of course, is all on top of the yellow-green base that I use, the CLAldridgeArt marker base. And it ends up giving a really pretty effect. Pause the video here so I can go blow my nose. Oh, that is much better. Okay, well now also, since we are on the subject of things that are important to artists, me in particular, I do want to address something else that I did see, especially considering that I am considering putting my art up for being made into diamond paintings. For those people, and I don't know, maybe people in the coloring world saw it too, I certainly mentioned it in my Sunday stream. Tiny Little Worlds did a video where she had been buying art or diamond paintings from a company out of AliExpress. She had gotten a copyright strike on one of her videos. As it turns out, the artwork that on the diamond painting that she bought was copyrighted, and the diamond painting company did not have permission to distribute it. And of course, this sort of goes right into that, the whole reason why we're having a Chinese trade war. One of the big issues is their failure to recognize and respect U.S. intellectual property rights. Now, she did a little bit of research and discovered that, roughly 90% of the art that she had been looking at was actually purloined, stolen artwork from the. In other words, the companies did not have the permission of the artist, nor were their licensing fees paid to the artist in any way. She was understandably appalled. She made a brilliant video about it, outlining what happened and the very concrete steps that she took on her own channel to not only prevent a future copyright strike, but also notifying all of the artists personally as to what happened, providing them with the information that they needed, and urging other people to, verify copyright issues prior to purchasing from these companies. Also talking about the fact that if they're cheap canvases, or inexpensive canvases, that it's quite it's most often the case that they are not properly licensed. Now that's excluding anything that is actually in the public domain, or could possibly be a graphic that was designed particularly for a company or whatever. But that it is an easy thing to verify by simply doing a reverse search, either with Google Images or with TinEye, which I use a lot. TinEye, Tin, and then EYE. It's a wonderful service. You just pop in a copy of the picture, and it basically searches the internet. This is how so many of us discovered that, roughly 90 to 95% of the so-called free coloring pages on Pinterest, especially grayscale coloring pages, were in fact stolen art. What they would do is somebody would go into a puzzle manufacturing company, somebody like that, a poster company that used to put up these, big, beautiful shots of their box covers and things like that. They would simply, take a screenshot, take it into a photo editing, desaturate the color, turn it into grayscale, post it to Pinterest as being free. When, of course, the artist never licensed it as a coloring page, they licensed it to a puzzle company. And for the manufacturer, the specific manufacturer of creating a puzzle or a poster, certainly not a color page. So that is how it happens. Well, one of the ladies in my stream belongs to a group on Facebook. And the administrator of that group apparently saw this video and advised the members of her group that don't worry, as buyers, they're in the clear as far as any liability goes, because it's up to a seller to get the proper licensing. So I want to address that. Can you imagine why I might want to address that? Yeah. Okay. So, on the face of it, that is actually a true statement. However, where you regain liability is if you unbox it in public and show it, if you work on it in public and show it, if you snap a picture of the finished one and post it to your Instagram or to your Facebook or to any place else, you resume your liability for a copyright strike. And make no mistake about it, artists will get it taken down. The minute they find out, they will contact the provider of, whoever the company is that on whose platform you have put it, and they will make a copyright strike. You will have one, whether or not it is on uh, YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook. They all have mechanisms where they will, if you are the artist and you claim copyright, they will automatically take it down. And that counts against you if you have a copyright strike. On YouTube, 3 strikes and you are out. On Facebook, 3 strikes and you are out. So just keep that in mind. So my friend wrote, a comment that said, okay, well, but what about the issue of, let's say that as a buyer who buys these things and you don't show it, what about the moral issue of the idea that you're taking food out of an artist's mouth? That's true, by the way. That's absolutely true. You are guilty of theft and you are taking food out of the mouth of the artist whose work is being used and sold by these nefarious Chinese companies. The administrator's response was, yeah, but I can't afford the more reputable companies, so I'll just keep buying from AliExpress. I can't make a judgment. I will tell you that that is not the kind of morals that I want my children to learn. I don't have any children that I want my nephew's children to learn. Um, to be perfectly honest with you, I was completely flabbergasted that a group administrator would respond in that particular way. Um, I get poverty. Poverty is not an excuse for theft. Just because you're poor, it does not excuse you from stealing. And that is what the posting and the buying of, because by now you're informed that it has been stolen from the artist. And if you buy it anyway, to me, you are guilty of receipt of stolen merchandise. And if I wanted to be a real witch about it, I could come and seize it because it is stolen property, regardless of whether or not you bought it. So, illegally buying something does not relieve or does not keep you from losing it if it turns out that you bought stolen property. Now, you may have redress against the seller, but you certainly don't have it against the person whose property was stolen. And intellectual property is a real thing. So I just, that's not to say that, I don't completely understand. I do completely understand. We all look for a bargain. It's cheap, it's pretty, it's colorful, it's all that. It's theft. And you can't clean that up. So, just something to think about. Uh, I know that I personally would rather save my money and have less diamond paintings, just like I have less coloring books. I have what I can afford, um, or what people have sent me as gifts. Um, which is so generous of the coloring community. But I've as an artist, I have had to live my life in that if I can't afford it, I have to. If I can't afford it now, I have to save for it. And I've always been that way. Um, I don't, buy stuff off the back of a truck, which is what essentially you're doing if you're buying a piece of art, any art, that you are not certain of the provenance on. And then, once again, that's up to you. You can buy it. Chances are no one's ever going to find out until you snap photos of it and show it in a public forum, and then the word gets back to the artist. So if you are going to buy from AliExpress, don't post it. Don't work on it on your channel, unless and until you have verified that the proper licensing has been obtained on it. Otherwise, you could end up with a copyright strike, and nobody wants that to happen to you. Certainly not me. So, take that for what it's worth. And if it's not worth anything, well, that's okay too. But it really is easy to take care of. It really is easy to use both Google reverse image search and TinEye. And, if you plug in the picture of the diamond painting that you're going to work on, and it comes up matching to to an Instagram colored picture, you know that it's probably a stolen image and that it was never quite licensed, for the purposes that it's currently being used for. Hey, while I was working on this, I did take a little bit of a break. And the reason why I did is because Hogue Law Firm has posted yet another video. And I just like the way the guy talks about this. He also referenced yet another video, which I was really very informative. So I watched both of those, and so I do have something to add to my earlier comments. And this is something I did not know. While the FTC did order YouTube to create a method for content creators to manually, or to be able to provide whether or not they're making content for kids. Apparently, the algorithm, which is this bot sweep that YouTube is going to be using, was wholly their own idea. It wasn't part of the actual order. Now, of course, the fear is that it is the thing that is gonna, that's gonna tag us little users. And I also didn't realize that the lawsuit that was originally brought, the two of the named companies that supposedly YouTube was collecting information for, and targeting ads or personalizing ads to kids, were for Hasbro and Mattel. So that's kind of telling on their own channels. So this is I think how the FTC came to even start to think of content providers as being in this liability mix of compliance with COPPA. And once again, COPPA is a data collection code, a data collection thing. And we as users don't collect data but somebody like Hasbro does, because they have big blocks of advertising revenue to spend. And so, if they're looking, they're creating content for kids, YouTube is collecting it from the people who go to Hasbro and Mattel's YouTube channels, and then buying advertising blocks specifically to target those particular people who got their information. That's apparently the kind of thing that was going on, and all of the rest of us are being made to pay for it. So I didn't realize that when I made the first part of it. And while it doesn't change any material fact, it does sort of piss me off. Because they are, in fact, deep pockets. Um, why didn't they go after, if they're going to, I guess, I don't know, if they're going to go after somebody, why wasn't it Hasbro and Mattel? But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Lord only knows. Anyway, um, but there's just a ton of really good information out there that is not panic information. And so I do urge all of the content creators, regardless of who you are, to to once again stop watching the panicking ones. I was so disappointed in Nick Nimmin. I like Nick. I like the information on his channel. I thought a video that he posted yesterday was completely out of line. It was silent. He was holding up sheets of paper, talking about how the FTC had stolen his voice. This is a guy who lives overseas, protects his income source from, with completely different tax laws, and yet he is, I don't know if he's Canadian or he certainly got an American accent. So, but I was really disappointed in his video yesterday. And that's really what started me on my search. I thought, this is fear mongering, what he's doing, and I think there's a whole lot of that going on. Not that all of this isn't serious, but I do think there's a lot of fear mongering going on. Where it's being generated from, whether or not YouTube is inciting it, hoping that we'll all complain so loudly to the FTC we get them to back off. I honestly don't know. I do know that I'm not as sympathetic to YouTube as I was 2 hours ago, because apparently they do have mechanisms in place, or technology available that could that could identify users as being under the age of 13, and like making age gateways to get into certain places, that kind of thing. An age gateway is where you have to click a button that says, yes, I'm over the age of 13, kind of thing, in order to maybe enter a chat or get into a particular channel that was, designated as to, family content. Or there are all kinds of mechanisms that they could be using that they're apparently choosing not to. So that is an interesting development, and one which I will look into more. But doesn't have anything to do with this beautiful coloring that I'm trying to do. I think I'm about to zoom down and show you a little closer shot of what it is that I've done here, although I may not. I suspect that, there I go. Yay! So you can see I've just been working the color in light to dark. I did get this a bit oversaturated with color. When I tried to put the dark brown on the very outside, I ran into some wax bloom issues. So when I do the rest of it, I start with the dark brown on the very outer edges of that rattan looking thing. So, or there we go. Get it in focus, Christine. Anyway, I will continue coloring on this particular picture on Sunday. By that time I will have the other two flowers done. One of them is already done, and the leaf around it, the other blue one, and then I'll have the other orange one done as well. So we'll move on to working with the purple, or the lavender, and the gold, which will be the yellows, and go from there. Oh boy, I'll tell you what, I almost wish I hadn't watched that before the end of the voice recording for this, because I sort of built up a pretty good head of steam, understanding that there are ways that YouTube could have dealt with this without scaring us half to death. And the FTC scaring us as well. There's a video that where the FTC is saying that it'll be like shooting fish in a barrel, and um, there are a lot of legal opinions out there that the FTC doesn't have that particular kind of power. They would still have to take people to court, but who among us has the money to pay an attorney? I don't. I don't think any of you do either, nor do we want the aggravation. But until we meet again on Sunday, I do hope that everybody is happy and healthy, and I will put the links to the FTC, and to the various videos that I've found. Um, and we'll just have to see how it plays out when these bots start in December and when the rule gets into place in January, and hopefully go for the best. But until then, and until we meet again, please do color something pretty. This is Christine, signing out.